Okay, good afternoon. Welcome for our first day discussion of our subject on legal office procedures. Let me discuss about the course. This course is designed to develop basic knowledge of the legal secretary or assistant's clerical and practical duties required in a law office. The content includes reception, client relations, effective communications, and basic legal documentation used in all areas of law. So in other words, this subject will uh, let the student familiarize about the roles of a legal secretary or assistant in a law firm. So what are the things or the duties and responsibilities this legal secretary has. And then secondly, students will also enhance their vocabulary of common legal terminology used within a law office, government agency, court systems, social services, and current affairs through practice, study guide, and quizzes. Okay. Of course, working in a law firm requires uh, the legal secretary to be familiar with those legal terminologies. Okay. However, in this subject, we'll only discuss those common terms legal secretary uh, must know. Okay. And then lastly, it also provides students an opportunity to identify the types of activities legal support personnel perform, identify the basic components of legal technology, apply organizational and time management principles, and identify elements of professionalism in the legal office. Okay. When you say uh, professionalism, it doesn't only require, or it doesn't mean that professionalism must be done only in a law firm. However, all offices, if you're working, uh, all employees should be professional at work, and they should have this proper time management in order to be effective and efficient in their work they're doing, in the work they're doing. Okay. For this subject, we're going to have two major parts. The first one will be about the general office procedure and technology. Okay? So it is not just a law firm, but in general. So in every business, of course, there are offices, and each one must be familiar of all those policies and procedures or the office environment as a whole. And of course, for the second part, we'll be dealing with or we'll be discussing about working in a legal office or legal environment. Now, for the first chapter of our subject, we're going to discuss the office in the business world. For the learning objectives, in this chapter, we're going to learn about how to describe various types of offices, describe types of workers who use office skills, explain how technology influences office practices, and identify common information-related office tasks. When you say office, it is a place in which the affairs of a business, professional person, or organization are carried out. In an office, you deal a lot of information. So when you say information, it is made up of data or facts that have been organized into a meaningful form. It is actually the core of all office activities. Meaning, if you're working in an office, every day you perform your job with the guidance of your, for example, you're a secretary. Each jobs or position has respective job descriptions. In that job description, that is actually the list of duties and tasks you're going to perform. So based on that duties and responsibilities, you will be guided on how are you going to perform your job in an office environment. So again, information is very vital in working in an office environment, and informations are used in the following manner. So manager writes the policy for sales return. This is an example how informations are being used in an office. A stockbroker accesses a database for the current price of a company's stock, and a customer service representative responds by telephone to questions about installing electronic equipment. Now, if you're the secretary of an office, what are the informations that you need to know in order to perform your job well? Okay, probably as a secretary, you need to know, number one, about the company. So in case a caller will ask you some information related to the company, you will know how to answer the question. And for example, you're a telephone operator. You need to know the different local numbers of the different departments or sections in the company, so that you will know where to connect them. And then if in case you're the sales representative, you need to know information about the products you're selling for you to be able to sell your products. That is again how vital information is in a office environment. The office functions are varied. Every employee does a wide variety of tasks, meaning an employee has a lot of things to do or responsibilities to do, not just one. However, there are also employees that focus on a few tasks. There's what we call specialized functions and multitasking. Now, when you say specialized functions, like for example, if you're in a technical job position, like for example in an engineering, your functions, for example, if you're an aircon technician, your roles is specific to aircon cleaning, aircon repair, or very specific function. While if you're for example, a secretary, you do a lot of tasks, okay? Aside from preparing documents, typing, answering calls, uh, entertaining guests, you do a lot of tasks. And that is what we call multitasking. In fact, when you start your job, you will, aside from your contract of employment, you will also receive a list of your job or the list of responsibilities in a document called a job description. In the job descriptions, you're going to see all your responsibilities for a particular position. Now, in an office, of course, you deal a lot of technology, especially nowadays. You deal a lot of, office equipments. So companies use up-to-date technology in their offices to help employees be productive. Since technology is changing, the way work is accomplished is also changing. Now, before, uh, we use telephone calls when we communicate with other people. However, since technology is changing, nowadays we use emails, video calls, video conference in order to communicate with other branches if you are a multi-branch company, or with your clients as well. Another example of technology in an office, we also use fax machine, or probably scan the documents and send through emails. Alternative offices. It is No longer is the office always a particular space used for the same purpose day after day. We have this traditional office wherein it's a permanent office, and another alternative office which is very common nowadays is telecommuting. Virtual office. When you say virtual, it describes something that has a conceptual form but no physical form that you can see or touch. Example, school library to virtual library. When you say school library, you can imagine a lot of physical books, computers in a particular uh, library in a physical form. However, when you say virtual library, you still can look for ebooks, for example, or a particular subject in the virtual library. Okay, so like example of a virtual library is the one we're using, EBSCO, NCAT University, wherein you can look for topics by accessing the EBSCO. Now, when you say virtual office, this is the capability to perform work activities away from a traditional office setting. It has no physical form but allows you to perform work activities. Now, example of a virtual office are those for example, in a BPO or call center. A lot of call center agents works from home, and they have all. It is not necessary that they report to their permanent office, which is the traditional office, but still they can do their job working even not just in their home but in a different places, or call it multiple places, as long as you have an internet connection, a good internet connection. Still you can perform your job as a call center. Okay. Now, an example of an employee working in a virtual office is what we call virtual assistants. This is a worker who performs tasks normally handled by an on-site secretary or administrative assistant. Now, I know you encountered a lot of advertisement or job vacancies looking for a virtual assistant. So, this is what a virtual assistant is. The virtual assistants can work from a home office, can set the work schedule, and work only as many hours per week as desired. So it does not require an on-site office space and are usually paid for the hours they work. This means cost saving for the company, which can be especially important for small businesses. Mobile office. This is an office temporarily located at a particular site or that can move from place to place. Example is a construction site office. Now, as you in a construction sites, you will find offices there temporarily built for the workers, engineers to stay while the project is still ongoing. So that is an example of a mobile office. So once the project is completed, then that mobile office will be destroyed or transferred to another location depending on their project availability. Home office. Home office is a space within a person's home that is used to perform office tasks. Okay? So those working in a home office is sometimes called freelancers. When you say freelancers, these are people who work in home offices that are self-employed, independent contractors who work for others, usually on a project-by-project basis. So in other words, if you're a freelancer, you accomplish your work on a day-to-day basis based on the project as required by your client. Okay? So for example, if a client requires a project to be done in a week, then as a freelancer, you need to complete the work as required by your client. Otherwise, they'll transfer to another freelancers that would be able to meet their target. Okay? So they are self-employed, meaning they do their job uh, like in a partner, I mean, not an employee-employer relationship as a traditional one, but something that is a service provider, meaning you provide services depending on the client's need. Now, for example, another example is if your client requires you to design 100 t-shirt design in a week, then as a freelancer, you need to accomplish that or to complete that in a week in order for your client to pay you based on a project basis. Okay, so for that ends our first topic, or topic 1-1. Now, an activity or activities rather will be done on the first topic. Number 1 is reviewing the topic, and then secondly, making decisions and getting acquainted with local offices. So I will just upload the instructions on each activities. So for that particular topic, for the first topic or topic 1-1, there will be 3 activities that you're going to do. Okay, however, you're going to spend the rest of the time for this subject today to accomplish these 3 activities. Okay, so since this is a 2-hour class, then you will still have a lot of time to do or to complete these activities. But don't worry, as again, during our orientation, I mentioned that we are all adjusting on the new norm, so I'm going to be lenient and give you a leeway in the submission of your activities, which will also be posted in our Moodle classroom. Okay? I mean Moodle platform. Okay, so if you have question for this topic 1-1, please just take it down, take note of it, and then PM it to our group chat so that I could summarize, I collate everything, all your questions, and I will post it or upload a video answering all those questions on the following Monday. Okay? However, I think Monday, August 31 is a holiday, so I'll post it on Wednesday. Okay? September 2, I think. Okay. So again, for these 3 activities, I'll post it upload this in our Moodle platform, and just click it and answer all those activities. Now, the next topic is about the office in relation to the total organization. For the learning objectives, in this topic, we're going to explain how employees develop understanding of organizations in which they work, describe common types of organizations, identify the goals for different types of organizations, explain a common structure for personnel, and describe the role of office employees within an organization. Sorry for the misspelled. Within an organization. Office activities are basically related to information. In what way? Of course, you perform your job on a day-to-day basis because you have something to accomplish with, okay? So there are informations, for example, or things to do based on the information that you learn in working in an office. Like for example, you need to finish a you need to finish a certain business letter that you're going to send to your client. Then for that particular day, one of the tasks that you need to accomplish is to make a business letter. Of course, when you write a business letter, you need all those informations that you need to know in order for you to make such one. Then secondly, you will process and communicate information as you complete your work. Of course, for example, if you're an accounting staff, you need to complete or to achieve the end result with the guidance of the information you've learned during your orientation or as on a day-to-day basis. So in doing so, you will learn much about your organization. Of course, every day, dealing with all those informations you've learned on how you perform your job, then you will learn more about an organization. Learning is not automatic. You must make an effort to learn about the company. So if you're an efficient and effective employee in an organization, you don't rely things or informations that were given to you by your superior or co-workers or peers. But if you want really to learn, you try or you do your best to learn more about your work and of course about the company. Learning from your work. The information you handled is related to your organization. This is actually relevant to the organizational structure of your company. Now, if you still remember your management subject, one there are part of the management function is what? As you recall, the different functions of management is planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. So this one actually is related to organizing. Now, if you have a particular position in the company, that is actually the result of organizing, wherein all the tasks that a company should do must be delegated or must be assigned to a particular person. Like for example, for the job of clerical rules, it should be given to a clerk or secretary, or another is for management function, then you're going to hire a manager. And each one of them has different roles and information in mind in order to perform their job. Okay, again, specific roles or responsibilities listed in their job description. Then secondly, you should be alert to opportunities to learn from the content of your work. Again, don't rely on your routinary jobs, again, in a day-to-day basis, but try to strive harder or to learn more about your job. In fact, it is better if you think outside the box. Like for example, you try to make your own initiative in order to perform your job better, or think about something that would make your job efficient or more productive. Okay? And then you must realize at all times the information you handle may be confidential. Okay? Like for example, if you're an executive secretary, you deal a lot of confidential information in a day-to-day basis. Now, so if you hear or if you happen to receive a confidential information, it is your responsibility to keep that information in confidence. Now, as an executive secretary or even department secretary, you have the responsibility to keep safe the information that should be confidential. However, there are also informations that need to be disseminated or communicated with others. But again, you need to determine what are those information that should be maintained secret or confidential. Learning from resources available. Learning about the company can help employees understand their own jobs better. Like for example, If you're a marketing executive, now, aside from learning about the history of the company, another thing that would, or another information that would may help you in performing your job well is to know more about the products, and of course do not depend on what the company can give you or information that they could provide, but you should initiate to look for other resources, like for example using the internet. You try to read uh, a lot of information related to the product you are selling. That will give you an edge compared with the other sales executive in your company. Now, the job descriptions, annual reports, and other documents or reports can help employees understand the company's mission as well as its goal for the coming fiscal year. Meaning, uh, if you're a manager, it is very important for you to know the financial uh, reports of your company for you to learn if the company you are working is uh, improving in terms of revenue, or I mean the revenue is increasing for that particular year. In that way you can help the company. For example, if you're in a sales executive, then you need to sell more in order to help your company uh, uh, gain or have a higher profit. Okay, so you need to sell more. Now, in an organization, there are actually different types, no? Uh, Different types of organization. So we have businesses. These are organizations that seek for profit or seek to make a profit. Now, another type is a not for profit or non-profit entities, but they are not governmental. And lastly, governmental units. Now, let's discuss this one by one. So, you say businesses, there are actually different types of businesses in the Philippines. Number one, we have a sole proprietorship, and second is partnerships and corporations. When you say sole proprietorship, this is a business owned by one individual, also called single proprietorship. This may be of any size, but many of them are small. Okay? So an example of sole proprietorship is a business having one owner. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of having if you choose to have a sole proprietorship. Now, nowadays, there are a lot of sole proprietors or single proprietors, uh, like, for example, in online business. Okay, so there are a lot of people selling online, and they own their business. They provide for their capital solely. Okay, now one thing or one disadvantage of having a sole proprietorship is, of course, you have less capital since there's only one person or one owner of the business, so the capital is limited. However, for the advantage is, of course, in case of profit or revenue, the single owner will have everything. Okay? Partnership. When you say partnership, this is a business that is not incorporated and has two or more owners. So some partners may provide funds for the business but not take part in managing it. Okay? For example, a common example are professional partnerships like an accounting firm, law firm, so wherein there are two or more lawyers uh, associated with that law firm, and another is an accounting firm. Okay. However, other partner could also join the partnership by providing or by investing to it, like sample providing a capital. However, it is not necessary that as a partner you need to uh, take part or manage the partnership business. Okay, so it's up to the partners what are their respective roles. If they would be an investor or investor at the same time, part in managing the business, so it's up to them. Now, another type of business is corporation. This is a business organized under the laws of a particular state, particularly here in the Philippines, for which a charter was secured. So when you are a corporation, of course, the law govern is our corporation code, and you need to pass through the SEC or the Securities Exchange Commission. Okay, so if you wanted to have a corporation, you need to process all the documents in order to register your corporation to SEC. Then secondly, privately or publicly owned, owners have shares of ownership called stock certificates. So again, a corporation could be privately or publicly owned. So if you're part of the owners of a corporation, you are called stockholders or shareholders, wherein you have a particular share of the company or corporation. So if you are a stockholder of a corporation, you will be given a stock certificate as a proof of ownership of that particular corporation. So again, owners are called stockholders or shareholders. Not-for-profit entities or non-profit entities. These are organizations that provide services without the intent of making profits. So unlike businesses, the one we discussed earlier, not-for-profit entities are organizations that doesn't have the intention to make profits, but instead they provide services. So they receive funds from a variety of sources. Many depend on money received from individuals and groups. They may receive money from dues and fees paid by participants. Some funds may come from government agencies. One example of a non-profit entity, like here in Cebu, I know of one which is the PMAP, wherein I am a member of this non-profit organization or entities. PMAP is Professional Management Association of the Philippines. So these are organizations of all HR professionals. Now it could be you can join individual or through your company. Okay, so they depend on the money or the funds they get from the membership or those trainings they organize with all those registration fees. So they got it. I mean the capital, the money the funds they have is from those different activities they organize. Okay, so another example is a charitable institution. Like for example, those you've seen in television or hear from news, wherein a certain organization provides help in terms of providing basic needs, grocery items, especially those people who underwent a like for example calamities, fire, typhoons. So those are an example of not for profit entities. So they receive their funds from people, individuals, group companies that wanted to help their organization. Governmental units. It plays a critical role in the society. Each unit has specific duties related to services considered important for the citizens served. It could be an agency, bureau, department, or board. So again, for governmental units, these are the different agencies, like in our local government. So we have here, of course, LGUs and national agencies like the DPWH, the LTO, and all other agencies of the government. So each unit or each agency has their respective roles in providing services to all the citizens of the Philippines. Okay? So those are example of government units. Now, in each organization, they have their respective goals. Okay? So in fact, in those companies, they have vision, mission, and of course, core values and goals within their organization. Now, when you say goal, these are what business should choose to do. So what they wanted to achieve, what they wanted to do, what they wanted to serve, and all those things. So there are various strategies for increasing profits. So in general, strategies that will provide most profit are selected. Now, again, so if a business chooses to increase profit or increase revenue, then they'll try to look for strategies that would, of course, increase their profits. So, of course, whatever strategy that will provide them the most profit is, of course, the one being selected. So, profits allow a business to expand through investment in new facilities and new equipments. So, of course, if your an organization is profitable, then the result will be there will be expansion in terms of facilities, expansion of the number of people or workers hired, and of course, acquiring new equipments. So those are the results if or the things that will happen if your company or organization is profitable. Now, in an office environment or an office worker, you need to also know some financial terms. So you need to be familiar with these terms, especially if you are a single proprietor. So number one is income statement. When you say income statement, this is actually a report that details the result of business operations for a certain period of time. Okay? And then revenue, these are income, money or other gain received. And expense, these are financial costs, fees, and charges. So revenue are the profits, and expense are the things that you spend in order to operate your business. Okay? So example is labor costs. Okay? So if you have several people employed under your organization, then of course you need to pay them through their salaries or wages, and that is an example of an expense. Another financial document is what we call the balance sheet. This is a report that presents the financial condition of a company as of a specific date. Assets are goods and property owned. So example, if you have buildings, equipments, land under your company, those are considered assets. Liabilities are the debts and payables. So if you purchased an equipment or have a loans with banks, so which of course they are payable in, for example, 2 or 3 years, so those are considered liabilities. And of course, the last one is owner's equity. This is the owner's share of the worth of a firm or the capital. Now, here are the respective goals of the not-for-profit entities and governmental units. So, again, for businesses, if their primary goal is to gain profit or increase revenue, while not-for-profit entities, their goal does not seek to make profit. Their goal is to provide valuable services to those who can benefit from them. Okay? And then for the governmental units, again, they do not seek profit. These units are primarily supported by taxes. So they operate and they get their funds through the taxes paid by the citizens. Okay? Overall goal for the governmental unit is to provide services to the citizens' desire or need. For example, if a certain local government unit needs to have a uh, cemented highway, then money or there should be a fund for making such projects since the citizens of that particular local government unit needs to have that cemented highway. Now, with regards to structure of organization, so it depends on what particular type of organizations. Now, for example, if it's a corporation. Now, in a corporation, they have this board of directors. Okay? So the board of directors or the BOD establishes the policies that guide senior management in directing the company. The owners elect members of the board of directors. Some members are not employees of the company. So it is not necessary that board of directors are employees of the company, but they could elect members outside their organization. These directors are expected to provide guidance and to make decisions that will serve the best interests of the company. Now, other organizations like cooperative, they call their BODs as Board of Trustees. Or those not-for-profit organizations, so instead of BOD, they call their directors as Board of Trustees. Now, aside from board of directors, there are also senior managers or senior management. When you say senior management, these are persons who give directions in carrying out the policies of the board of directors. As mentioned, board of director sets the guidelines, policies of a certain corporation. Now, the senior managers are the one who carries out the policies determined by the BODs. So, example of a senior management are CEO or Chief Executive Officer, Chief COO or Chief Operating Officer, and CFO or Chief Financial Officers. Though another one is middle management, managers who direct the daily activities of a company. Example of a middle management is for example, a production manager or an HR director. So those are example of middle managers. And then we also have these department employees. Employees organized in departments or teams that relate to the functions of the company, such as accounting, sales, and marketing, human resources, are what we call department employees. So again, in an organization, there could be several departments, units, which compose of the department employees. And each department, they have their respective department managers, which is part of the middle management. Okay, so that's end for our topic today. So I'll just upload the 3 activities and you spend the rest of your time answering those activities. And as I've said again, I'll give you extension on the date of submission. Okay, so that's all for now. Have a good day and thank you.